He's carrying whatever he can, whatever he has left. Others in this village, close to the earthquake's epicenter, still searching for missing relatives, though there's little hope they're still alive. Jamal managed to pull himself out of the rubble. Much of his family couldn't. They've already found the bodies of his sister-in-law and young nephew. Now they're looking for his brother.
I was injured. I was bleeding and I could barely get up. Everyone was saying you're hurt yourself, but I had to try and help my brother and his family.
We've travelled along dirt roads carved into the sides of mountains. We saw fresh landslides falling from our car. Bulldozers are clearing blocked paths, but the remote location of the worst affected region is making rescue and recovery efforts all the more difficult. Even ambulances struggle to pass traffic chokeholds. We arrive at the village of Talat Na Yaqub, nestled in the Atlas Mountains. Morocco has been hit by deadly earthquakes in the past, but only on a handful of occasions. People here weren't prepared for anything like this. You can see whatever's left of their possessions now strewn amongst the debris. And it's families living here in more rural, poorer communities who are suffering the most. The army has been deployed to help deliver aid and reach cut-off communities. Supplies are being rushed to locations across the affected zone. But some survivors are frustrated there's not more help.
If you think this is bad, go further up. There's nothing left. People are helping each other. The government is nowhere.
At a nearby cemetery, graves are filling up. 3 days of national mourning have been declared. Mohammed has been burying his 3 closest relatives. His mother and father earlier today. Now it's the turn of his 13-year-old brother. I live in Marrakesh, he told me. I tried to call my family here, but they didn't pick up, so I rushed here as quickly as I could. The journey was so difficult. I had to walk for parts of it. It took 14 hours to get here. The first thing we found was my father's arm. We pulled him out and buried him. What support do you want from your government, from the international community?
We don't have any home, any support, supply, food, water. Of course we need anything.
More than 2,000 people have been killed in this earthquake. Many more left homeless. The scale of this disaster is still emerging. Well, we're now back in Marrakesh. There is some damage here too, particularly in the old historic part of the city, but really nowhere near the scale of what we saw further to the south, where, as you saw in that report, many of the houses were constructed in a way that would have made them particularly vulnerable to this very, very powerful earthquake. Even here in Marrakesh last night, we saw large numbers of people sleeping outside, too afraid to return to their homes, thinking that they've been badly damaged or dangerously damaged, and so they didn't want to go back and sleep there, preferring to sleep under the open sky. Many more will continue to do that tonight. But really, from what we saw today, the big challenge here is operating in these remote rural areas, trying to get rescue officials supplies down these narrow mountain roads. This is a very difficult situation for this country, and it's going to take Morocco a long time to recover.
Secunder, thank you very much, Secunder, and the team in Marrakesh there. Well, earlier I spoke to Hossam El-Shakari, the Middle East and North African Director for the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. I began by asking for his assessment of the situation on the ground in Morocco.
At plus 48 hours after this massive earthquake, the first they have seen in 100 years, the picture is of extreme devastation and much need. The picture is not fully clear yet. Many areas have not been accessed yet. These are remote mountainous villages. Some have completely disappeared off the face of the earth. The casualty figures are increasing. This is something that we have seen before and we expect to actually increase. Our main concern is with the search and rescue efforts and also taking care of the 300,000 plus survivors. So we're working on multiple fronts now as the picture reveals itself. And it is much worse than we had anticipated even in the early hours because of the nature of the area impacted being so mountainous and remote.
Our team on the ground, they got to Marrakesh and then they've gone towards the epicenter and they found blocked roads. What would you think is the main challenge for rescuers?
Access to those who are potentially trapped under the rubble. This is not easy. It's already overwhelming the healthcare system and the hospitals that exist. And in parallel, just got to make sure that we don't have further injuries. There have been aftershocks, and that rattles everybody. It stops search and rescue efforts and stops everything pretty much. So we don't want people also in buildings that collapse further. People, it's getting cold at night. People can get, they're already starting fires to warm up. People have injuries from the scorpions and the snakes and so on. So there's a lot we're doing to work on these multiple fronts in this critical phase.
There have been offers of help. It was the G20 summit when we got the news, so there have been offers of international help. Have the Moroccan government taken on those offers? Do they need to in these critical hours, as you say?
There has been tremendous outpouring of international solidarity from across the world. Many African Red Crosses and Red Crescents, Arab, European, American, Japanese, everywhere in the world are contacting us with offers of assistance. To my knowledge, the Moroccan government to date has not requested international assistance. They're dealing with their local capacities. That is not something we have not seen in the past. The first 48 hours are what I call the management of chaos. If the picture is unclear, we hope they do, because they are, and a salute to their responders and their medical teams. But at 48 hours, at 72 hours, they'll be absolutely exhausted.
Is that not a mistake from the leadership then to not seize on these offers of help in these really critical times where people desperately need help?
I don't want to judge them. I don't want to criticize them. They have their reasons and they're doing their best. But we are in private conversations, of course, advocating for them to accept these very generous offers of assistance.
Okay, great. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Well, joining me now is Samia Essaoury, who is a Moroccan-American historian of North Africa at Stanford University, who previously worked as a journalist in Morocco. Samia, thank you very much for joining us. We've just seen the latest death toll figures sadly rise. I just wanted your reaction in a country that means so much to you, to what we're seeing right now.
Thank you for having me. First, I would like to convey my condolences to families who've lost loved ones and my support and solidarity for those that are continuing to rescue their loved ones. The reaction has been somber, has been of anger, frustration, just trying to get a sense of what's happening because of the unfortunate lack of transparency and because of the nature of the remote area, as the previous speakers have noted, that this is a situation that is dire. And unfortunately, many of us, not just those of us that are abroad, but I've spoken to family and friends that are in the country who they themselves are struggling to get a grasp and understanding of what's happening. And every 2 or 3 hours, we are just holding our breaths and waiting for the latest death count. And we're just hoping that there will be a light at the end of the tunnel of this.
Just talking about those rural areas, just picking up on reporting from Secunda there, just describe what these areas are like and how remote they are and what kind of people are living there. What resources do they have?
On a good day, okay, so we're talking about the absence of any natural disaster, just on a day-to-day basis. This region is extremely difficult to get to. The roads are hardly paved. I mean, the moment that you step out of the urban areas and centers of Marrakesh, Casablanca, Rabat, this is the picture and this is the reality that many Moroccans live. So in this particular region, in the region of Al Haouz, roads are not fully paved. Access to running water and electricity is scant. And just the basic infrastructure that one would expect in the 21st century is not a given there. And so you compound that with the reality of a tremendous and devastating earthquake. We can only imagine how difficult it'll be to ensure that aid workers and officials are able to get there in a timely manner and ensure that those that need help are able to get it.
What we have seen is international help offered by the US. We've seen that reiterated in Vietnam just a little while ago. There's been help offered, but not necessarily taken. Why would that be the case?
It's a question that we all are wondering. So, unfortunately, there has been an absence of Moroccan leadership. We did not get an official statement from the leaders until 20 hours after the earthquake. That is when it was announced that the king held a cabinet meeting with a number of officials to discuss immediate measures and sort of outline a plan of how to deal with the situation. 20 hours. This follows reports that were unconfirmed that he had just recently arrived from Paris. In addition to that, there has yet to be a single press conference. We have seen practically not a single Moroccan official on any media outlet answering questions, providing information, not just for the Moroccan people, but for the international community. So unfortunately, I'm ill-equipped to answer that question because I myself don't know. We can surmise and guess. There have been reports that aid workers from a few countries, some have speculated that Tunisia, Qatar have been able to send aid, but we have also seen reports from the Washington Post, for example, that cited unnamed European Union officials who said that they're simply not getting a hold of their counterparts to ensure that aid is making its way and that rescue workers are able to get there. So the situation is surrounded by opacity, unfortunately.
And Samia, that's a situation that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. Thank you, Samia Esroohi. Thank you very much for joining us.